Well, everybody, welcome back to what is now considered phase 2 of Project 56. Been a hot minute since we've been back on this project, but as you can tell, this thing's not really in where we left it off conditions. That's all right. I'm your host, the Rental Man Buck. I'll dive into what we're going to be trying to do in this video, and then we'll get right into the content. With the kickoff to phase 2 now underway, we know this is supposed to be our bodywork phase, but that does not come lightly because I've been digging a little bit more into the mechanical side of this mower, and there's a few things I'm going to have to do, and there might be some alterations to the project as a whole. That main part being the drivetrain. Now, this is a 3-speed manual select with basically 2 high gears and 1 low gear, but that drive sprocket that comes off of the transmission that will drive the chain to the rear wheels, it's not looking so hot. Out of 7 actual teeth on there, there's only 4 good teeth on this gear. It's a $90 sprocket, and the odds of being able to find one is little to none because they're either all on back order or it's out of production. So if I can find one, I will replace it at some point. But we have bodywork is the main one that we want to start working on. That means I'm going to be taking the seat back off the top cover, sanding all that down, and starting to cut out the top part of the lid so we can really make the body on this mower look a little bit cleaner. The actual frame of the mower itself is not in that bad of shape. I thought about maybe banging out some of the dents, making it straight on the front, but I'm not sure how well that's going to work, / I'm not too sure if it's really worth it to do that. So when the time comes, we will be working on the drivetrain. And by doing all of that, it should really make this mower be a very reliable piece of equipment. There is one thing I'm considering doing with this mower, and that would take a rotation of the front axle. When the mower deck on the mower is attached, there's 2 attach bolts that go on the front piece of the axle. If I flip that around, there's a chance that I could possibly put one of those MTD plow blades on it. With a heavier motor and some chains in the rear, plus me sitting on it, I would think that that mower might actually have a chance to be able to push some snow, but that's a project for a little bit later day, maybe some accessory work. It's not going to be in this video. Let's head to the garage though and take a look at what all needs to be done and where we currently sit. Now that we are back to the transmission, if you guys saw the short where we pulled apart the top half of this and showcased to you guys all of the wonderful gears and how a manual select transmission actually works. We'll definitely have to put some more grease back in that. I do have some lubricant grease, but I'm not sure if it's exactly the right kind for the viscosity. Starting out though, what we're gonna do, like any normal person should, we're gonna clean up our area that was in the mower's frame itself. Getting the transmission out of this thing was kind of a nightmare because you can't get that drive shaft part out unless you take off the top half, and that's a whole production. So we're going to start by getting all of that grease and gunk cleaned out from the mounting plate. It's not going to be perfect, but you know what? It'll look a lot cleaner than it does right now. And to top it all off, I did run some errands in town and I picked up some parts. This is our transmission pulley that comes off the bottom shaft. Once we can put this back on, the problem with the old drive belt that it used to run with, when it went to the clutch pulley, the transmission pulley, all the way back to the engine pulley, it never fully disengaged because the motor sits a little bit further back than the original one did, so this belt was too tight. Well, that got fixed. I got a new one. It's ever so slightly longer, but I think it gives us just enough clearance that when we push in the clutch, the motor will actually disengage from the transmission to allow us to do a smoother, more fluent shift pattern. I really don't want to break that drive sprocket because if it's $90 and it's not even guaranteed I'll get one, I'd be better off just, not breaking it.
Jesse was born on a winter's night in the middle of a storm. The road was blocked, so Jesse was born in this old house. Raised on love in those sunny years when there was magic in the world. Her laughter traveled well across those hardwood floors. God knows we didn't have much, but in a way, we had it all.
With all of our driveline now successfully reattached, as well as the belts and the drive chain, let's get this thing back down on the ground and we'll see if this thing can run and drive it once more. It's real convenient when your mower only weighs, I think this is like a 300-pound mower, but all of the weight is in the rear. If you guys do like Project 56 and you'd absolutely adore to see more on this wonderful mower that's just been driving me nuts for the last 5 years, consider dropping a like and maybe even subscribing down below. We are on the race to 100,000 public subscribers by the end of this year. And Project 56, hopefully by the start of the new year, will really just be one of the fun finished products that we've actually done on the channel. And I know I could lift this thing up, but you know, save your back while you can.
12 seconds later.
Forget about it, throw your back out. Yeah. Now in theory, all I have to do is turn the key, put it up to choke until it pops, and then I put my idle run back to about the mid-range, and then it runs just like a top. Did I have fuel in it? I do have fuel in it. There it goes. Well, that problem's fixed, and I also did notice that the transmission still likes to grip a little bit while the engine is on lower idle, and I think the only real way to combat that is to have the engine run at a higher idle. That way that belt has enough time to slip and fully disengage. Otherwise, this thing is tip-top shape until that drive sprocket technically begins to really fail. Moving back to the drawing board, that means we are officially done with the drivetrain. The mower runs, the mower drives. Now we need to make it look pretty. It's still going to be a lot of work, all right? You can't escape body work, okay? Whether you'll do one thing and something will probably break, but it is the determination and the dedication that will make things happen. Let's roll out and start working on the measurements so we can cut out the back half of that shroud. Oh yeah, who's a genius? Apparently not me. And there is the engine shroud. As you guys can see in the front, lines up just fine. The problem with the back side though is that my fuel tank and air filter are on the complete opposite side of the engine bay. That's not good. So to combat this problem, what we're going to do is I first of all got to take off this seat, which actually it's a pretty comfy seat. Look at this. We're going to do what a lot of more modern riding engines have, because they run a lot bigger motors than this these days, is I'm going to very carefully cut, but not take out the structural part of this top half of the shroud. I will have to take off the decals at some point, so that way when we do end up painting this thing, I can make it look nice with the new decals I have, but we're going to cut out a hole in the top half of the shroud, so that way we can keep the original design, but we're not going to have the original template on top because it does not fit in the engine if we keep it there. I'm going to get the bolts off and we're going to start working away at this. I don't really have a need for my seat to get stained like the first time I'm actually trying to work with it, so I'm going to clean off my tabletop here quick. But another thing to note, guys, is if you don't know already, when you change a belt on something and it's not busted, frayed, or something on that, always keep your extra belts. You never know when the other one's going to break or something's going to happen, and you need a backup. Here we go. Here's our main event. I can't remember exactly what size this is. The one on this ratchet's a 13, so let's just hope that's what it was. Hey, look at that, it was. Mint. That, and I actually didn't really tighten these down, so that also helps. Maybe a doocy-goosey got loosey-goosey as her... I don't know anymore. I give up. Do what you think I'm saying, not what I'm actually doing. I got it! We're going to have to really be careful because this is an old fiberglass hood. And if you guys know anything about old fiberglass, it's very fragile. But when we line up our holes, here's where the problems start to arise. As you guys can see, the back pull shroud does fit, but the motor sits higher than the other one previously did as well. If I look at this shroud from underneath, I can tell the air filter goes almost right up to the edge of the line. So if I can cut the part like right there, as well as all the way across the back, and then the same on the opposite side, it should have enough room to clear everything that we need to get by. Patience is going to be the most crucial part here, and if I can't have that, well, we're going to be hosed from the gate. Let's just do some points first, because I want to get a reference as to where I'm going to be cutting. I'm going to go all the way up to probably here. So about right there. I wish I had a chalk line somewhere that I could do with this. That would make this a lot easier. Will it work? I don't know, but I think it's our best chance.
One failed attempt to press record. Later.
Let's do ourselves a test fit. The one spot that is kind of worrying me is this back left part right here. Once we actually, barricade this thing down. Look at that. Look at that. Of course, once the seat's on, that'll make this a lot better, a lot more sturdy, and we're sitting on this at all times, so I don't really want to worry about it yet, but I'll file the rest of some of this off, and then when we get to the part where we have to lift the seat, we just got to be careful. 56 is on its way.
2 hours later.
And after what seems to be a lot longer of time than it should have taken to do this, I had to make a couple modifications. We have ourselves a seat on a lawnmower. Now, I know this seat is definitely way too big for this mower, but for your boy Buck, it's perfect size. I'm not going to worry. But I've already kind of taken it for a quick little test drive just to make sure everything, did not rub, nothing was bad, and it works. I love it. It's comfortable to now sit on a cushion rather than a metal plate that tears at the bottom of my butt every single time I try to stand up and get up because of the bolt holes. Looking at it a wee bit closer, here is the up close. When I actually said that I had to fix that little portion that was right here, I don't think I'm actually going to need to do that. Yes, this is a structural part of the cover itself, but it rests on this inside bracket piece. All you have to do is sit down and it doesn't do anything because it stops on these metal plates back. That's where the brunt of the weight is on the seat. This back cover, I don't have to. Plus, if I don't have this little rounded piece, it hits the fuel tank. So it actually worked out perfectly if that chip was there. Giving it one quick test pull so you guys can hear this thing run. It sounds immaculate. All right? Believe me. I know. This will be the hardest part about deciding what I want to do with this mower is that some of these decals, it's like, do you keep the mower as a quote-unquote patina and leave all these scuffs and scars and just have fun with it as is? Or do I notice the fact that I have oil sitting down? Where the heck did that come from? Never mind. We're all good. I thought I saw I had an oil leak and I'm like, bro, I just got this thing done. But it wasn't. I do also have all original decals that go around this thing. I believe I even found the steering wheel button. I have to find them because I haven't seen majority of them since I moved. But that is really the brute force of all I needed to do to this mower in order to get it up and running as well as driving. I know this is a very rough way it looks, and that's where I want to improve upon that. But the next thing on this would be beauty modifications. That would mean like fixing all of this surface rust on the foot plates. The other thing I could do is straighten out like this corner. I don't really have a reason to do that because again, it's a quote unquote restoration, but it's really just trying to get the mower running, looking good, and being useful again. And other than really just cleaning up the shroud and making all this chips and paints and scratches really go away, the mower is basically done. I'll be the one to say it. It's got a long way to go, but I'm pretty happy with what we've gotten so far with this mower. It runs, it drives, you can sit on it without burning your rear end off or tearing it up. And quite frankly, I'm just excited. I'm really excited. It might not look like it, but this has been 5 years in the making because I had this mower since I was in high school. So I think that is going to do it for this part, guys. I know this is kind of a shorter one maybe, but until I can really plan out the painting and the decal works, I'm probably gonna get a heat gun because I don't wanna gouge out this fiberglass just to get the old decals off. I think we'll save that for next time. So thank you guys for checking in. We shall see you all in the next one. This is the Rental Man out. Peace.